welcome to another HW-Aquascaping video, or should I say pondscaping. Today we're going to be looking at this lovely Blagdon Affinity pond. This is the half moon in the smallest size, so I think it's about 133, 135 litres. So yeah, a really nice little decent size for what I'm planning to do today. So the aim of this is to basically be a really nice little sort of nature pond. There's going to be no filtration as sorts. There is a little solar pump that I'm planning on putting in here just to create a little bit of water flow, but other than that, generally the plants are going to be the filtration in here. It's plenty big enough for the fish that I've sort of chosen to be the feature of this pond, and I'm hoping that it's going to come together really nicely. So I'll take you through today's build video, which is going to be doing the hardscape for this. As you can sort of see a sneak peek in the left hand corner, I'm using some really nice rocks, and we're going to put some wood in there as well. And yeah, I'll just take you through how I'm planning on doing this nature pond and how hopefully it will be really effective going forwards. So let's get to the building. So this is the inside of the pond itself. As you can see, it is a little bit on the grubbier side. I've tried to clean it down the best I can, but this is sort of how I'm stuck with. I basically should explain, this is not a brand new product. It is secondhand and was acquired as a ex-display item in an aquatic store. So it's just going to be how it's going to be, but you know, my whole aim of this is hopefully to be a really affordable setup, really, you know, something that's going to be inexpensive and hopefully really easy to replicate for you at home. So my plan is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the pond soil off of the plants that I bought, so it's sort of giving you a bit of a sneak peek into the plants that I've acquired, and I'm going to use that as a base layer to put the rocks on, because I didn't want the rocks to go right on the bottom of the liner, but also pond soil, if it leaks into too much into the water column, it will just dirty up the place. So I'm thinking put it right at the bottom, and then this is going to be capped with gravel and sand, as well as the rocks and the wood and everything. So there shouldn't be any pond soil getting onto into the water column. So that will hopefully solve that issue, as well as providing a nice little sort of soft cushioning area to place my big hardscape. So it's a win-win really. So as you can see, I've just stripped all the pond soil off of the plants, and that's now down at the bottom, so it's not too thick. It's sort of around about, I'd say, a couple of centimetres, you know, nothing too major, but will provide a really good home for the nutrients and the plant roots to delve down and get those nutrients as well. So yeah, I think now it's time we'll move on to the hardscape. So what I'm planning on using here is some really large slate that I've acquired. It's really inexpensive. This, you can get it from most garden centres. You know, slate is aquarium safe, so these rocks, you know, if you to pay in an aquatic store where they usually do it by weight, you'd probably be looking about 50 quid a rock, whereas these rocks cost around about sort of, I think it's £4.50 each from the garden centre. So you know, that's a win-win really. I mean, works out perfectly for what I want. But yeah, I got some really nice sort of shapes, colours, contrasts. So what I'm trying to replicate is sort of like, you know, an American sort of slow-moving creek. So I'm going to have the plants, the wood, and hopefully that'll all come together as a really nice setup for the fish, because, as I say, the fish are going to be an American-themed temperate pond. So, you know, we're going to have lots of different species in there from America. And I've got this really nice piece of bogwood. I've actually been holding on to this since Christmas in 2020. Actually, before that, I think might have been November. But yeah, I've been sort of toying around with ideas for this, and I want to keep it really simple. So I've made just like a really nice retaining wall to go on there, and the wood's just going to sit and poke up the top. You'll see me through the setup. Alfie's in the background as well. But through the setup, you'll probably see me remove this piece of wood every now and again, because although I've got it sort of in its position that it's going to be, to sort of get to the back to do what I need to do for the time being, it does need to be removed. So it's going to be put back in sort of throughout the setup. So now in here, what you won't know, over sort of the last, well, however long I've been doing YouTube now, all these scapes that I've dismantled, so that is the bonsai scape, the freshwater reef, and the Baryonyx River. I have saved all the aqua soil, the sand, the gravel, and it has all gone into here. It's been dried out first, and then it's all gone in here, and I've been saving it because I knew I was going to do this project at some point. And I've been hopefully, wanting to use it, recycle it. Again, obviously, making things less expensive because I'm recycling good aqua soil. There's nothing wrong with this. And I'll also be using, on the left, as you can see here, some pond gravel, and on the right, just some pea gravel. That's all this is. 20mm pea gravel, so it's really big sort of size pebbles. And this will be used as a really inexpensive way. I mean, these bags are really not expensive at all. They're sort of like a £5 a bag from any garden centre. But the symbol that you can see, or you might not be able to see, but I'll tell you what it is. The first symbol on the left-hand side, it means it's aquatic safe. So it's perfectly fine to go in with fish. And that'll be used as the base layer sort of to go in the retaining wall, just to pack it out a bit so I don't have to use as much aqua soil in there. So obviously, yeah, I'm recycling my aqua soil, but it will help me be able to spread it a lot further. So I'm going to pack this in first, and then I'm going to put the aqua soil and the sand and everything that's all recycled on top of that. That'll give more nutrients to the plants that are going in there. And then once the plants are in, I'm going to cap that all off with the pond gravel. So it should make it a really inexpensive way of doing it, and should look quite effective once it's done, and hopefully work well for the plants. So as you can see, going to pack this in with the gravel first, put the aqua soil on top, and then we're going to move on to the front bit, which I'll be using this again. You've probably seen me use this sand a few times. It's purchased from Mainland Aquatics. I've had this quite a while. I've used it in the bonsai scape and the Asian Peninsula escape that I've done. I really like the colour, and the main reason I'm going to use this one is because I really like the ADA Colorado sand. Just ADA products, as nice and high quality as they actually are. For this scape, obviously I'm trying to lower expenses, and it's really expensive for sand. Effectively, I'd like to use it in an aquarium one day, but for what I want to use, I think this looks quite similar to the Colorado sand. So this is what I'm going to be using, and my idea is I'm going to put this at the front and then transition into the pond gravel, and hopefully I'm going to plant some carpeting plants in the foreground, so they'll sort of go straight into the sand, and it'll keep them nice and plugged in. So yeah, that is my plans really for the escape, but I'm thinking it's going to look really nice as sort of like a riverbed. Even though the fish don't come from Colorado, it's kind of going to be all American based. So yeah, it should look quite good. But as you can see, going to pack it all in at the front. I did actually end up using the rest of the bag, which was sort of about like 3/4 of the bag. But again, as you can see, it's packed in quite nicely there. We've got quite a deep foreground layer to plant my carpeting plants in. And at the back, you can see as it sort of transitions up back into the recycled aqua soil, that is quite a deep retaining wall. It may not look it from the top, but a lot of the marginal plants that I'm going to be planting in here can't go any deeper than 15 centimetres. So on the left side, I worked out it is about 15 centimetres, and it sort of lowers to about 20 on the right hand side. So it's quite a nice sort of gradual slope, but all the plants will be fine. I've got a few plants that can go in 40 centimetre depth and still be fine, but the way it's packed out, they'll be perfectly fine in that depth as well. And it'll create a really nice sort of shallow area with lots of pebbles as well. So if there is any spawning from the fish as well, hopefully they'll be able to deposit their eggs in the plants and they won't get eaten. And who knows, we might have some breeding action going, but you never know. So here we are, the hardscape is complete, sort of. Obviously, the recycled aqua soil at the back still needs to be capped with the pond gravel, but I can't do that until the plants have gone in. And even though the scape looks very simple, I'm really happy with how it sort of turned out. It does look a lot better once the plants are in, granted, but for now, I'm really happy with how that's turned out. And obviously, I keep on sort of going on about this being inexpensive, but it actually is. It doesn't cost a lot to do this. You can sort of build things up over time, And sort of the whole point of this pond is to be sort of like, more environmentally friendly. It's going to be running off of a solar pump, and it's, recycled materials, so should be really good and hopefully a really nice little project to go. But moving on, this is the pump I'm going to be using. As you can see, Alfie is in the shot again. Um, Obviously, it's been really hot here in the UK, which is why I'm sort of doing this project now, because it's the perfect time to do it. Nice sunny weather, perfect thing to do for is a solar pump. So I'm going to be using a Blagdon Liberty solar pump. Basically, what this is a solar panel that has a battery backup. So if it goes cloudy for like a moment or two, it relies on its battery power that it's sort of charging up over the time, which can last about 6 hours. Um, so it has a few different settings on there, but I'll not get into that now. I'll do a full sort of unboxing video of this product if you want to know more about it. But what I'm going to be doing, sort of, is I'm going to put some Seachem Matrix in its little sort of casket that I'm going to put it in, to sort of try and make a makeshift filter. I mean, like, obviously, I know oxygen needs to be going over it, but it will provide some home for beneficial bacteria as it starts going in there. So it'll hopefully try and keep the water relatively stable when the fish go in there. But yeah, I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. So the Blagdon Affinity pond comes with a little planter at the back for marginal plants, because as you see, unless you're doing what I'm doing here, the pond actually just goes straight down, which I think is about 60 centimeter depth. So yeah, you won't really be able to plant most marginal plants at that depth. So they give you these little planters. But what I've decided to use it for is a makeshift filter housing. So as you can see, I put the pump right down at the bottom, and then I've just basically chucked a whole litres worth of Seachem Matrix in there. And this is what it looks like. So that's going to sit in there and hopefully build up a little bit of some form of beneficial bacteria to hopefully keep the water stable and act as like a makeshift filtration system for when the solar pump is on. It's why I've purposely positioned the pond where it is, because the patio gets sun from, well, in the height of summer, which we're more or less in now. It gets sun from around about sort of, I'd say 9:30 in the morning, right through until probably 5 in the evening, close to that, before it sort of just peaks behind the rest of the house. But it is a real sun trap. So granted, yeah, I'm probably a little bit worried about algae going in the pond, but I've got a few tricks to sort of hopefully combat that. But I'll tell you about that at a later time. But yeah, so it should hopefully power the solar panel really efficiently. It's one of these things that I really sort of have a passion for, is trying to be as ecological as possible. I love like David Attenborough documentaries and things like that, and I just think that's like we should be doing as much as possible to have less impact and become closer to nature as such. So obviously, all these plants and things will be, even though it's a small pond, they will be using CO2 from our atmosphere. So again, doing our little bit, if everyone sort of plants like one tree, we do our little bit, don't we? But I'm not sort of ramble on about stuff like that. I'm not like a full-on eco warrior. I just think that we should try and connect more with nature, and I think aquascaping as a hobby does do that. But yeah, it should be a really nice little pond once this is up and running. And my plan is basically to run a little pipe off the top of the fountain, or the pump, should I say? It is meant to be a fountain, but I'm just using it for the pump itself. I'm going to run it's got like a flow regulator on there just in case it is too powerful, but I don't think it's going to be too powerful anyway, but it's there if I need it. But yeah, I'm going to run a little pipe off the top of that, and that will go over the top of the wood once I've got that back in there, and I'm just going to find like a little bit to wedge it in. That'll be quite nice to create a nice little cascade, and hopefully it looks really effective. So here we are after my sort of little rambling tangent of how to be green and all that. We're here at the final product for the hardscape of the pond. I'm really happy, as I said, with how the hardscape turned out. I'm kind of excited about the future of this. It's been something I've been wanting to do really since last year, but unfortunately I didn't have all the pieces together at the time. I acquired the pond um, at the end of pond season, so it was going into winter. So doing what I wanted to do for this and keeping sort of temperate aquarium fish inside it, it wasn't going to work as like a full-time winter project. So therefore I've had to sort of set it up now. I would have hoped to have set it up a lot earlier, but here in the UK we've had such a weird start to the year. Like around Easter time, it was really hot, and then it went really cold, and then now we're back into a really nice heat wave. So I thought, what a perfect time to get it started. But we'll be doing the planting next. So if you like this video, leave a like, comment, and if not, subscribe, and check out the next video.